Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So guys, I wasn't going to do a video on this. Let me check my volume real quick. By the way, Jordan Sheridan is going to be here to discuss his new article about the water in Flint not being up to snuff despite the government giving clearances and stopping the clean water going in. So he's going to be here Monday, I think it was at 7 p.m. Eastern. Abby Martin is going to be here in June. I need to get the exact date, but I believe it's June 2nd. So she's coming up pretty soon. So I have some really decent and interesting shows coming up. Both of those should be really good. This show, I had no intention of doing another show on this particular topic, but I am going to do another show on this topic because I've had a few people who had feelings about me making the video. And I welcome those people to come on. I've told them that I'm going live and they are feel free to call in. I did a video on Cenk Uygur and Ana Kasparian's video where, in a nutshell, they made the point that a black man got Donald Trump elected. And even named the video, "This Man Got Donald Trump Elected," making the point that this black guy was either stupid or essentially conned and maneuvered into voting for Trump and trying to get other blacks to vote for Trump. And making this allusion to, hey, we don't know how much effect he had on this election, but he could have won this for Hillary Clinton. He could have lost this for Hillary Clinton. A, as if it's the responsibility of him to get Hillary Clinton elected. And B, this entire focus and weird thing where blaming the black guy for getting Hillary Clinton losing. And not just blaming him, it goes beyond the blaming. The entire video hinges on identity. White people fuck over white people all the time. They call it the Republican Party. They use identity all the time in the fucking in pursuit of other whites. They call it the Republican Party. This African-American man made a decision to leave the party, essentially be ejected from it when he realized they cheated him. He didn't want to have anything to do with the party that cheated his guy. This is some offense. And because this is some offense, this is raised to the height of, look at this stooge, how maneuvered he was. But why? Why is this a big deal? It's a big deal because it's an African American getting other African Americans either vote for Trump or not vote at all. The assumption being that those people should have or was going to vote for Hillary Clinton, as if Hillary Clinton owed those votes. I made the point that 90%, Hillary Clinton got like 90% of the black vote. And apparently that's not enough for Cenk Uygur and Ana Kasparian, who for whatever reason is extremely invested in Hillary Clinton getting that race. I made the point that if you're going to do a show based on identity, where you've effectively, the entire point of it hinges on this guy being somewhat of an Uncle Tom, selling his own people out, then it is perfectly okay for me to make the point that in the same Uncle Tom fashion, you have an Armenian sitting under a heading of the Young Turks. Now, some people don't necessarily like that, but that's an inconvenient truth. It is. Are you telling me that you can make this clear case of saying, it's wrong to make that point when their entire video hinges on, for the most part, fundamentally the same point? Look, I think the arguments against that video are somewhat nonsense, but I welcome people to make those arguments. So I'm going to leave this on for a bit. Let me see. We have 15 people. We don't have a huge number of people here yet, but I did explain where this was coming from. By the way, I just saw a tweet. Ron Placone asked me to be on the Ron show. I am going to tell him yes for that. That's assuming they still want me on the show after the last video. So, just that. But I'm opening the phone lines. In fact, this is my phone line thing. So, feel free to call in. In fact, feel free to call in for any of the disagreements. There was another guy who was Israeli who was pissed off at one of my other videos about Israel. Feel free. This is your time. I said next time I was going to do a video, I was going to open the phone lines. And so I am opening the phone lines. And there was, by the way, while we wait, have you guys seen this? This guy is alive. This guy popped his head up. I'm going to do a video on this. I'm going to do a separate and distinct video on this, but while we wait for people to come. Chanko. The media comes out and says Russia and Vladimir Putin has murdered and killed this guy. He killed this guy. Look at what Vladimir Putin did. Vladimir Putin is a horrible, bad guy. Vladimir Putin murdered and killed this guy. And everyone around the Western media, for the most part, said they held a condemnative finger at Russia. Skirples, a spy go down in Britain. And immediately Boris Johnson jumps out and says, Russia did it. It's Russia's fault. Russia's the culprit. I talked to Portendown, and Portendown told me personally, Boris Johnson, that Russia did it. Portendown comes out and says they said nothing of such, but nevertheless, they blame them. You have other oddities that the Skirples are recovering, even though they were supposedly hit with a nerve agent that's supposed to be, 50 times stronger than VX. Nerve agents that are supposed to take down grown, strong, thick-necked men, large swaths of them in militaries. And I think that mostly took down a hamster and a cat, with these two recovering. The doctors was treating them initially for an overdose of some kind of, like a narcotic or something. Not a narcotic, opioid overdose. But those doctors weren't protected or anything else, meaning for the entire time those doctors were treating them for something else. Supposedly, those doctors would have been exposed to the same substance that was supposed to be 50 times deadlier than VX. Those doctors are perfectly okay. None of them have injuries, none of them have issues. That's a little odd. But hey, it's mainstream media, so we don't necessarily look into stuff like that. Chanko is alive. How do we know that the Skirple case is what the Skirple case is? Yes, this brings up those questions. Oh, yes, we have a phone call. All right, let's see who it is. Hello, what's your name and what's the topic?
Hi, my name is PIM Flo Buck.
What's happening, Tim?
And I was not much. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
I was calling. You have your number up, and I see that you were talking about the TYT commentary.
Yes, because there were some people who had issues with my commentary on it. Look, I know that there's going to be, I have a certain disposition of this, being an African-American male in this particular society,
of course,
with a disposition of understanding of what it's like to be in this culture that's this tethered to Democrats. Like, it's hard to get that across on how tethered the community is to Democrats. Hillary Clinton did squat for African Americans. You know, she said a hot sauce thing. She had Nancy, Mary J. Blige crooning, but that's all she needed to do. Only thing she needed to do is be hugged by Obama, and his blackness slid onto her a little bit, and she wanted to get those votes. Obama goes out shilling for, saying, if you want to protect my legacy, vote for Hillary Clinton. Again, using his race in order to try to shill for votes.
Well, people have such short-term memory, considering the horribly racist stuff she was putting out when she first ran against him.
Yeah, right. You know, even the Kenya thing started with her. Like, the stuff that, the birtherism stuff started with her. It started with her.
Yep.
But even taking all that stuff out of it and just basing it on the video itself, I looked at that video and I look at it from the perspective of there's a weird affixment of African Americans to the Democratic Party. And the Democratic Party uses it remorselessly, where it would, give nod to this or that. It would put somebody in a particular spot, just with this idea that the virtue of having somebody with a particular identity in a slot is the same thing as actually doing something for that identity. Those things are different. Black wealth melted under Obama. It had nothing to do with his race. It had to do with his policies. Like, I guess my issue with the video is it was so heavily dependent and reliant on race to make the video work. It's his idea. Look at this black man who's voting for these for these Republicans who are trying to get African Americans to vote for Republicans. I think that's horrible.
Well, that's the easy way. That's the easy way out.
Yeah.
It's you get to point your finger, blame someone, and walk away feeling better about yourself
for not getting Hillary Clinton elected. Like, that's right. And that's what all of this is about. That's what all of this is about. Hillary Clinton lost.
You better believe it.
Yeah, she lost. And so for them, it's like, oh my God, Hillary Clinton lost. It's like the meltdown on TYT on election night. Anna's like,
oh wow,
she's getting pissed off at women who voted for Trump. Think about that. How dare you choose to vote for somebody other than who I, Anna Kasparian, believe you should have voted for? It's like, come, get out of here. And in this case, it's like, how dare this black man goes out and get people to vote for him. Look, it's not that I like it. Like I would have preferred him say, vote Jill Stein. I mean, when I have conversations with people, I would be like, I'm voting Jill. I'm voting Green. I think Republicans are repugnant. So I can't get over that hurdle.
I would get such looks of horror on people's faces when I said that, I could not, within my own soul, find any reason to vote for Hillary Clinton.
Yes, but that's where it is. Because for them, they want you to vote for Hillary Clinton. I mean, if you remember, Uyghur comes out in this long diatribe about how you should vote Clinton. Even though he's saying, I'm not supporting Clinton, I'm just voting for her. And it's like, yeah, dude, you can't have it both ways. Your vote is support. It's a 1-to-1. I mean, you coming out telling people that you're voting for Hillary Clinton is literally, in action, supporting that particular candidate. So, and it is what it is. But the whole principle of that piece was this black man decided to vote for somebody other than Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party, and he was he was a sucker, he was stupid, I want nothing to do with him. And it's like, but what is the crux of what you're saying? The crux of what you're saying is, how dare this black guy vote for somebody other than the Democrat, and this guy was a sucker for doing so. I think he was naive, yes.
I was going to say, I absolutely 100% agree that his decision was the easy decision.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, you pooped on my birthday party, so I'm going to, throw some poop back at you. Nah.
Just, yeah. Yeah. And the guy, yeah. Yeah, right. I guess you said that. That's true. It's like, you pooped on my party. You didn't get my person elected, so now I'm just going to throw dirt on you. Yeah.
Right.
I greatly disliked that video. When the woman sent me the email, and she was like, take a look at this, because I don't watch TYT. I don't waste my time. And she was like, and look, I don't want this to make it look like I have anything against it. It's just the Trump Russia stuff, the vote Clinton stuff, the just sheepdogging people into the Democratic Party stuff. It's at a certain point, it goes so off kilter. There's nothing that you can ever.
As with so many institutions, so many people, so many places. I mean, this election has just drawn so many deep lines in the sand that people are forced to kind of back up these nonsensical, weak positions with absolutely nothing, because they've just backed themselves so far into a corner they don't feel like they have a choice anymore.
And you know what's wild about this? Black Men for Bernie was emblematic of millions of people. Like, for Uyghur and Anna to make this argument of you're being stupid, you're being idiots, and everything else, that's talking about millions. This guy, they would have to believe that this particular person was the only person who fell for this, which it wasn't. It was millions. If you're going to call this guy stupid, this guy, incompetent, and all this other stuff, then you're talking about a large swath of the population that you can say fell for the shuck and jive of Donald Trump. But again, the reason is not so much that they fell for it. The reason is why? Why?
Right. Like, I mean, what was all of the sets of circumstances that led up to this?
What led up to it? A reality show host beat a standard politician who was status quo. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
They supported the reality show host. And they're pointing a finger at essentially the American public saying, you idiots, why didn't you vote for the status quo candidate Hillary Clinton that we were supporting? That's effectively what they're saying.
In all fairness, it's a very big indictment on our culture and our society, the fact that he is president.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think I think Donald Trump is an honest face of America. I know people chafe at that, but I think it's true.
Yeah.
We have a belligerent military all throughout the world. We have this attitude where we can do whatever we want. At least that's the implicit way we go about our affairs. He's just make it more explicit. if you look at military policy, Obama was still using rendition and so forth. Donald Trump is maxing out the drone murders. But why are we having these drone murders in the first place? I'm just making the point that it's an honest face. It's what we are in overt. It's an overt capitalistic society. If Hillary Clinton would have gotten elected, Clinton would have put plutocrats into those offices. Those people would have skimmed off.
Just the same.
It's the same. Now, Trump's people may be more rapacious. They may be more worse, but I would say they're more honest.
Yeah.
They're more honest. They're more honest in just the expression of who they represent. I don't like that. But I do like something to say of an honest target, as opposed to people giving this kind of, docile face to this kind of fascist.
I've been saying that for many months now. Like, why on earth would I want to have someone in there who's saying they're my friend and stabbing me in the back, rather than the big, dumb, ugly, stupid person that is saying he's my enemy right to my face?
And look, there's another aspect to this. I don't often bring race into the conversations that I have. But there is, African Americans should be apoplectic at the Democratic Party. I mean, and I say that to say and we're not alone in this. Whether you want to talk about labor, whether you want to talk about Hispanics, you have this captive group that's so terrified of how Republicans are that Democrats can do whatever they want. Like, they, for all intents and purposes, are allowed to run roughshod. So, instead of coming in and doing something where you go after the banks and actually help the homeowners, you don't do that. You help the banks. Why can you pull that off? How can a president come in after a huge financial crisis like that and overtly protect the banks while homeowners go bust and still get elected for another term? You can do that if you have a captive audience where the people are so terrified of the other party that they, for the most part, just go along with whatever comes up. And I'm saying that needs to change. Otherwise, nothing changes.
The DCCC's, what's their big marketing scheme right now? They're putting on all their flyers is look at the other guy.
Yeah. And do you know how sad that is?
That's their answer.
Do you know how sad that is, though? I mean, look at the other guy is honest. Because that's the way they've run for the past 20, 30.
Yeah.
I keep asking this question. If Hillary Clinton won in 2016, let's say she privatizes Social Security. Let's say she goes so far as to put troops in, in Syria. Let's say she passes the TPP. And she's running against Ted Cruz in 2020. The same arguments that you got for Donald Trump versus Clinton would be the same arguments that you would get for Ted Cruz and Clinton. The same arguments you get for the next Democratic random status quo.
You're being...
it's the same thing. It's
that you don't like her because of her gender.
Yeah, it's like, you guys are sexist and racist. That's what it is. As they continuously focus on identity. It's amazing. You have a bunch of other Democrats on TYT attacking the guy on the basis of his identity because he voted a particular way based on his identity.
Right. Yeah. And, I understand why he did it. I understand that feeling that you get inside where you just want to, lash out.
He was angry. I totally understand why he did it. Because, look, if you vote for Green, if I vote for Joe Stein, that takes a vote away. But if you're voting, this is kind of the Bob Ramirez argument. If you're voting for Trump, it's like a dual hit. I mean, and not only are you pulling a vote away from a Democrat, you're adding a vote to a Republican. So understand it. He wanted to get the maximum impact in trying to put a knife in these guys. And he was naive enough to believe that Donald Trump was somehow different than the other, policy members. But he's just a person. And as being a person, there are a lot of other people in the world or in this country that thought Trump was different. Why is his race such a distinguishing factor for TYT in this particular video? I think that's my issue with it. It's so overbearing in the race.
Right.
And then for people to get mad at me for pointing out that there's an Armenian woman sitting on stage under a banner at TYT, I don't give any credence to the argument against it. It's like you're sitting, in a black pot screaming about a black kettle.
I mean, for lack of a better term, they just kind of consider it, someone tied to a post, and they need a good whipping to do what they're told to do.
And that's sad. Because the thing that you should attack here, if you're TYT, it's not the voter. It's not the voter's fault. Like, you're acting I mean, maybe that's what it is. So, like, there's something about this video that aggravates the shit out of me every time I watch this video, and I can't.
Yeah.
There are multiple aspects of it, but maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. They're blaming the voter. Maybe that's it. Like, it's looking at the voter and saying it's your fault, because at the end of the day, Black Men for Bernie was just the voter, and as a voter, he's riding around with this idea of trying to suck away support from the Democratic Party because he wanted them to hurt in the same way that they made him hurt. I would have wished TYT would have been so animated when they were cheating Bernie Sanders, but, you know, they weren't all that animated about that. And in this particular case...
I mean, you know, I get his position. Nothing ever changes if it always fucking stays the same. So, you know, sometimes you got to come in with a wrecking ball.
Yeah. Black men should do what I tell them. Cenk Uygur, Skip Rock. Yeah. Dingo ate my baby. Voter shaming is Democratic 101. And that is literally what was taking place in that video. And maybe that's what it is. It's them wagging their finger at the voter.
I want to give a shout out to my fellow New Mexican Tabitha Enriquez.
Go ahead.
What's up?
Tabitha's here. Nice. Okay. All right. Very cool. Look, man, I appreciate you calling in, man. I've seen you on the chat, so thank you very much for your support.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, you know, I understand exactly where you're coming from, and I understand where he's coming from. What I don't understand is why people are like pulling their hair out because they don't understand. That's the dumbest thing ever.
Well, see, I don't know if that video was there for them to understand. They didn't care about understanding. Their thing was, this black guy got Trump elected, at least as a clickbait title. But as you get into it, it's, look at this stupid man who went around telling other people in his race that they should have voted for Donald Trump. Look how stupid he was to believe that the Republican Party was going to do something about that. I mean, this guy was just this is what they do. And it's like, what do you mean it's just what they do? You're acting like there's some wide disparity in the using of voter demographics between these parties. It's nonsense. This is kind of my point of MSNBC Light. If you were on MSNBC and you were having a conversation, they would protect the Democrats in the same way that this conversation...
Oh, they would be saying the exact same thing.
Right. Now, don't get me wrong. They did kind of at least say, well, we understand that, you know, there were issues with the Sanders election, that people felt like they were being cheated, et cetera, et cetera. They did add that in. But it goes beyond that. That's the part that they can fundamentally miss. If you're an African American, there's a cultural dynamic to this that goes back with the party that's odd and strange when you're born into it, and it's almost like this vampiric thing, like a sire bond, if that makes sense. You know, because the Democratic Party was a party that reached out to African Americans, and in our case, you know, from our standpoint, there are bad people in that other party that will get you if you put those people in office. And that is the modus operandi that we run with. And to some degree, that modus operandi is right. Like, they're not wrong. They're maniacs in the other party.
No.
So it's not wrong. It's just, it's become a convenient tool at this point to use these cultural things in order to get through right-wing policy. You know.
I mean, you know, it's two sides of one coin. In the end, you're still only getting a fucking nickel.
Yeah. right. He's getting a fucking nickel. Yeah. I'll be moving to Albuquerque soon. I'm in Austin. I'm going to move to Madrid, New Mexico. Yeah, man. Look, I really appreciate you calling in, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, you know, we really appreciate what you do here. We appreciate the time that you take out of your life to do all of this for us and with us, especially with us. You know, that's probably one of the better things about what you do, is that you really involve a lot of different ideas, a lot of different people, while covering some very serious topics. And, you know, hey, we thank you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I enjoy it. I mean, you guys let me do it. So, I mean, if there was no one watching, I wouldn't be able to do it. So it's a symbiotic relationship on that one. No, man, I appreciate it. Thanks, my man.
All right. Hey, good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Steven, I don't know the last name. What's the topic?
Sorry, hello?
Yeah. What's going on, man? What's the topic?
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. My name's Steven Schleich, and the topic. Wow, I thought I was watching that live. So this is the I'm very sorry. It's my first time calling you, I guess.
You're fine.
So the viewer disagreement of the black man getting Trump elected video.
Yes.
I'm calling about that.
Yes.
And I was very, very surprised when I was listening to that. I work at Walmart, and I was like, what the heck are they doing? And I just kind of like hate listening to TYT, you know? So,
but what was the thing that bothered you? Because I mean,
what bothered me is
wait. Let me prime this a bit, because there was I had to be honest. I couldn't put my finger on it. The video angered me when I watched it, but I couldn't put my finger on why. Like, it was one of those things. I watched the video, and because the woman who said, she was like, the woman who sent me the video, she was like, I feel that this is insulting. She says, I feel extremely insulted watching this. And I watched it, and I was like, insult. It's not insult that I'm getting. It's not insult. And I couldn't figure out what it was. And I think for me, it's voter shaming. But what is it for you?
Yeah,
what's the thing
definitely.
that you get out of it?
That's part of it too. But I was also, since all I do at my job is basically listen to news and podcasts and audiobooks, and like I just kind of like went into this political transformation that I feel like many, especially white men, are going through right now. They kind of have to wave through the right-wing propaganda and see if they could like come throughout the other side as not like a sexist asshole, you know. But I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on your show. I'm sorry. Well, anyway, but like what bothered me the most is I remember I was during the 2016 election. I remember listening to the Black Agenda Report with Glenn Ford.
Glenn Ford, the man's a lion.
Yeah, they were doing some really good analysis on the election, and had a bunch of people on there from all over the world, kind of analyzing it, and there was this one guy who had family from Haiti. He's an American. I'm pretty sure he was an American citizen, and he was a black guy on the Black Agenda Report, advocating to vote for Trump. There was one person they had on there. Most of the people were advocating what they had on the Black Agenda Report to vote for Jill Stein.
Yeah,
you know. But there was actually some people who had family from Haiti who were trying to tell the Black Agenda Report listeners to vote for Trump because they know what Clinton did to the countries of Haiti and all of the other countries around, you know. So it just kind of like got me that way. It's voter shaming, and it kind of really puts all of Clinton's victims that have like ancestors in the third world and family members still tied there, you know, kind of to shame. Yeah. And that's what bothered me.
I agree. And I do agree. The voter shaming thing is it's just bizarre that it's like, of all the things that you can do a story on, they zero in on this particular story. And it really does boil down to this black guy didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. And this black guy had no agency. He was just maneuvered into voting into, the Republicans. There are people who voted for Donald Trump because they had reasons for voting for Donald Trump that they thought would be exceeded in the election itself. It's not insane. I don't necessarily like it based on my own value system. But there are people who say, I'm done with this party. I need something else. It's voter shaming. I mean, it's literally voter shaming. It's them trying to, whine about people voting for somebody other than their particular candidate. So, thank you, man. I appreciate your call.
Yeah, thank you.
Very cool.
All right, bye.
All right, let's see. The person who I wanted to call isn't calling. There was somebody who had a big issue with this. Jamal, voter shame people who vote for Dems. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. They can vote for whoever they want, as long as they believe it represents their interests. Their candidate lost. Now, the reason I voter shame people who vote for Democrats is because if these people are saying they have a particular value system and they want to get something accomplished with that value system, and they're voting for somebody who is not in any way going to allow them to accomplish it, then yeah, I'm joking you for your vote in a sense. As for the other thing, these guys are out there trying to make people look bad because their candidate lost. Hello, what's the name?
What's up? It's Garden Gnome.
What's happening, Garden Gnome?
Not much, dude.
I was waiting for what's his name? Justin Burton Justin Burton hit me up on Facebook, and he went on a long thing saying how he was disturbed by my commentary on the issue, and I was like, fine, I'll be going live, and you can come on to air your grievance. My opinion stands because nothing that you said touches what I said, and if you need to have that conversation, we can have that conversation. So up to this point, he has not called in. I've been waiting for that call.
If he calls in, dude, just let me know.
No, you're fine. No, dude, you're fine. I was just giving you backstory on what was taking place on this, because otherwise I wouldn't have done this particular video. I was giving my audience members their chance to have their, get their grievances off.
What's the? Can you remember a couple of his general points?
Yeah, in fact, I can pull it up now. I don't think it's private. The main thing was not liking bringing Anna's thing into it, the Armenian thing, and where is it? Here we are. All right, right here. He says, let's see. I want him to call in. I just want him to call in. Was Carter?
All right,
so essentially, was Carter incentivized by cash? Use manipulate with more money. You still get small constant patronage. It still seemed a weird argument that you didn't even consider exactly what you were doing. You realize that TYT said exactly what you said. Let's see.
So he's like, one of his points is like the TYT funding structure. He doesn't like your take on it.
Well, I think my take is that video is for all intents and purposes voter shaming. And, with this thing of voter shaming, with a strong tint of race, like the entirety of this video is based in this black man was conned into voting for Republicans and essentially supporting Donald Trump. As opposed
dude, I watched the video. I understand your argument.
Yeah,
and
as opposed to not having
agree
agency and all this other stuff. Not to mention, I guess to me, I make this point that whites get conned by whites all the time. And that is the Republican Party. That is the mantra of the Republican Party. It's the identity politics, just like Democrats do identity politics.
Mm-hmm.
There's never an issue with that. And it's not that I like what he was doing, but I suspect that, yes, he probably was pissed off. B, there was probably maybe a motivation to cash, but I don't necessarily know that. He might have just used the cash in order to get him from point A to point B. And C, if you're going to make this argument where identity shouldn't be brought up, then it's like you're using an argument of identity. The entirety of this is based on this guy's identity being black. This would not be a story if he wasn't black.
That's not TYT's argument. TYT doesn't say that identity shouldn't be brought up.
That's fair.
In fact, they ride that horse quite a bit.
That's fair.
So as far as voter shaming and whatnot,
it feels like there was a heavier voter shame on the fact that he was black and he was voting for Trump. In the same way that it's like the voter shaming that Anna is like, she loses respect for people who vote for women who voted for Hillary, who didn't vote for Hillary Clinton, that type of stuff. And it's like, but you understand that the issue here is not necessarily the voter. You know what I mean? Like, yes, you could say as a human being, as a person, people need to start taking a certain amount of assertiveness and going about their affairs. But there was nobody to vote for her. Like, it's not the situation where there was this glaring thing between two sides. It wasn't built that way. So yeah, it's like you had a no-win situation, and this guy makes a determination. I call it the Bob Ramirez attack, and I don't think Bob Ramirez would have any issue with calling that. It's this idea of you're trying to hurt the party in order to make the party become something else. Meaning you have to destroy the party for it to become something else. I understand the logic of it. I don't necessarily agree with it. I understand the logic of it, but acting like the guy's stupid for doing it, or got conned and all this other stuff.
One thing about like the TYT paradigm with their audience is that a lot of it is based on shame, whether we're talking about voter shaming or some kind of other shame, like racial issue guilt or guilt about this or that. I mean, a lot of their commentary is just shame and guilt based, and it got to the point where I just started calling them the Young Calvinists because that's the exact same model. Is you just shame people into submission for their sins.
It's so bizarre. I watched it and I thought to myself, you've named a video that this man got Trump elected. You have no idea. I strongly suspect that he had zero to any effect on the election base. And I'm saying this from the perspective of somebody who, my mom has heard me pitch and all this stuff, a bitch about Democrats and everything else. She still voted for Hillary Clinton. The idea that this guy, some random guy in a bus, is going to convince a bunch of people to vote, I don't believe it. Now, and I say that to say you've had a major drop-off, A, because you had Hillary Clinton on the ballot. B, you had Obama, who was the first black president who was essentially no longer on the ballot. C, they didn't like her. You know what I mean? You had this horrid campaign. People didn't like her. You can't blame this guy for that. And especially this kind of shaming thing like, this black guy gets him elected. Yeah, I dislike
Yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous. Like, they're always going... I agree, like, they are removing agency, but they do that with everyone. Like, they remove their agency. They say that the people are stupid. They say that they've been duped. They say that they're unethical or immoral. I mean...
And even though he says, I want nothing to do with him. It's like, why are you angry at the guy? Why are you angry at the guy? Your candidate lost. I mean, it wasn't like this glorious moment if she would have won. So, they cheated this guy.
Well, and the other point that I wanted to talk about was the fundraising structure. And let's put it this way, like, you don't want to owe $20 million to heavies. You don't. At some point, like, they want payback. And if you don't pay them back, there's going to be hell to pay. By signing that $20 million contract, you open yourself up to them suing you for wearing the fucking wrong tie. I mean, the lawsuit might not be successful, but can you, like, hold out against a team of lawyers that Katzenberg throws at you, no matter how ridiculous the case is?
I don't know. I mean, my only issue with that, and I brought that up because I tried to make this point of they're going after the guys saying that, he's fully just doing this out of cash.
Yeah,
yes.
It's beyond belief, dude. The hypocrisy in
right. That's what I'm getting at. It's like you're trying to say that he's doing this for cash,
belief.
but you guys got $20 million. It's like, no, our integrity is superhuman, but the other people's, those sniveling bitches, those guys are corrupt. Look, the guy might have did it for cash. I don't know. I suspect he probably was pissed off and they gave him the cash and he just kind of ran with it. I don't know, but this sounds like throwing a stone in a glass house. All of this, it just feels like voter shaming. And this is just politics. It's not necessarily the best of politics, but it's politics that the Democrats themselves do. So, yeah.
And as far as Anna and her, I mean, I feel like I'm living in a Kafka novel when I think about that situation.
That's so bizarre to me, and nobody says it. Like nobody. It's like the elephant in the room that nobody acknowledges as an elephant in the room. I don't care about it, but look, I had a woman who's contacted me, and she was annoyed by the setup of TYT, and that wasn't really something I could do on the story per se, but definitely pointing out this kind of odd arrangement of the historical context of this, and it's crushing when you know this. Like, I've been watching this World War I thing. It goes week by week by week of World War I, going all the way out for the entirety of World War I. It's an amazing thing. It's called the Great War, and
I've seen that.
It's an amazing series. I mean, they go for like 4 years.
Yep.
And you see the build-up of the Armenian genocide, like the inception of it, how it starts, how it gets to the point where it revs up as it goes through the process. It is heart-wrenching. It is utterly heart-wrenching. Now, I don't necessarily care and necessarily bring it up all the time, but if you're attacking that black guy because the black guy was this kind of Uncle Tom for going after Trump, I mean, it's like, come on, man. I mean, there's a certain amount of irony built into the situation where you're going to attack the guy for those type of things. I don't know. I was annoyed by that video greatly. I'll just put it that way. So, yeah, that's always
it's just her excuses are just her justifications, I should say, are just too flimsy. Okay, she assumes that because the word has another colloquial meaning, it erases the rest of the context.
Yeah. A
literal
genocide.
We're in a very specific context here.
Genocide.
I mean, it's so weird, man. I mean,
and the wild part about this is
Turk.
It's a lefty
the name
network.
of the show is Young Turks.
Right there. It's a lefty news network. And if this was called the Young Nazis, if this was called the Young Fascists, the Young Soviets, people would have issues with this. Like, they would have some serious issues with this. Or the Young Stalins. Let me say Stalins. The Young Stalins. The Soviets were different. They would have significant issues with it. And you would have Uyghur on this network saying they need to change the name. The Redskins, Washington Redskins is a racist name. He's been on his show saying Washington Redskins is a racist
Dude, they went
name.
on about that for weeks.
And under a banner called the Young Turks. That's mind-blowing. And nobody said, people just give that a blind pass. They don't say anything about that. And they just act like, there's nothing to see here, folks. It has another meaning, and so because that other meaning wipes out the genocide that this particular group did. Hey, the Nazis probably gave health care to the people in Germany. It's does that wipe out the fact that they tried to commit a genocide? It's like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, the colloquial meaning does not erase the wider context, Anna. I'm sorry.
No,
I posted a link in the video that you did on that was what Anna's latest direct rebuttal to her critics on that point. So check it out if you want.
I gotta be honest.
Basically the same damn argument.
Somebody gave me a video on that, and they wanted me to do a video on that, and I've been so squeamish to touch that issue. Like I got annoyed in this video because it feels like they went so directly at the guy's race. Look, whatever somebody wants to say, that video that they put up doesn't work without that guy's race being in it. Why not make a video saying Republicans have been ripping off white folks, and this white guy has gone out there trying to get people to vote for Republicans? Well, that would be an odd video to make because that's just Republican modus operandi. Well, in this case, you have an African American who's fucking over other African Americans depending on the perspective that you're taking. I would imagine he doesn't think that. I would guarantee you he doesn't think that. I would guarantee you that African Americans, there are plenty who decided to vote for Donald Trump on this. I don't think it's a good idea to do so, but they decided to do it. They weren't stupid. They weren't stooges. All of them had their own particular reasons for doing so. I don't quite understand this thing where TYT becomes the determining factor in who African Americans can vote for. I mean,
yeah, this moral arbiter shit that they constantly pull. Yeah, it's just it's so annoying, man. Yeah. But as far as them and no shit. Well, I forgot.
The TYT thing is squeamish. I was squeamish on that part. Like, yeah, oh man, it's squeamish. I don't like touching. Sometimes I don't like hitting the stuff of the cultural stuff. I feel like we should be above it in a lot of the stuff. But if it becomes a direct conversation piece, then yeah, you just use it in the conversation. But I felt weird and squeamish hitting anybody on that, and even exploring it to some degree felt like hitting, if that makes sense. Like even if you just sat down and had a conversation about it, it felt like you're hitting the person on it because of the reality of what that name means. So yeah, I always felt a little weird about it.
I mean, but when you look at the wider context, it does make sense. The Democrats are trying to pick up the minority votes that they lost.
Yeah.
All right. So all of a sudden, TYT comes out with messaging that's targeted towards minority voters and tries to shame them. Surprise, surprise. So that's what's really up here.
Voting for Trump. Look at this sucker. Oh, how stupid it was. That he thought
you better vote with us next time.
Yeah, you better do it. You better not fall for these Republicans who are trying to get you to vote for them against their own races. He was like, if you want a Mexican to vote for another, for a Republican, don't be stupid. I mean,
don't be a corrupt chump.
It's this guy.
It's political messaging, and it's just more evidence that TYT is tied into this structure.
And you know what? The worst thing about this is, this guy has been replicated all throughout the United States. Like, the Black Man for Bernie is just he's an avatar of a large number of people who essentially did the exact same thing, who got pissed off, who was fed up, who realized that what they wanted in the world was not going to take place in the party, and they left. And they realized that the only way to get the party changed is to break this idea that you must vote for a Democrat. Now, that's not him being stupid. That's not him lacking agency. Did he take the money? Yes, he took the money, but TYT took the money. Everybody takes the money when they need to get something accomplished. Yeah, it took a hell of a lot more.
They took a lot more than $100,000. I'll tell you that.
And mind you, and here's the thing: the stuff that he wanted to do was like community projects and stuff like that. So it wasn't just him being paid off. I mean, yeah, I greatly dislike that video.
And the other thing, just as far as his, like, this dude and his $100,000, I mean, it's not cheap to run a bus all around the country. It's not. So I'd imagine a good portion of that money went directly back into the project.
Yeah.
Now, you can't say that with TYT. You don't know where that money's going.
Yeah.
Once you donate to them, it vanishes into a black hole. You don't know the terms of the contracts that they've signed with Katzenberg and Friends. You don't know the terms of any of these deals that they've signed. The only way that they will ever be revealed is if they come out in a court case. And that's why I was hoping that Jordan was going to be able to push his lawsuit through. But
they ended that.
They
settled that shit. They was like, yeah, let's put the shit right. Let's keep going.
All right, man. Well, it sounded like someone else was trying to call, so I won't keep it any longer.
Thank you for calling. I appreciate your call, Garden. All right, let's see. There was somebody else who tried to call. Let's see. Baltazar, Obama had more of a hand in loss than that man did. And Baltazar, when 2016, I see what you mean. Yeah. It wasn't Black Man for Bernie that got this thing lost. If you want to say who was the black man that helped get Trump elected, this guy who was in office before. You're right, Baltazar. Baltazar 228. When 2016 came around, progressives had seen the run progressive rule corporate run around before. She did absolutely nothing, garner the votes of progressives, Rust Belt independents, or humans. Or humans. Hello, what's the name and what's the topic? Are we talking about the TYT thing?
I actually want to talk to an old video you did.
Go for it. What's the name?
So
first the name. Wait. What's your name first?
Dave.
Okay, Dave. Go for it, Dave.
Yeah.
I like to know who I'm talking to. That's all.
Yeah. Okay, so you did a video like a week or maybe 2 weeks ago about how the teachers union in Hawaii wouldn't support Tulsi Gabbard.
Yes.
Because of her stance on war.
Yes.
Well, it's going to be real unpopular, but the reason that happened is because they understand what they do on a day-to-day basis is a lot similar to what we do overseas to those countries. On a day-to-day basis.
Explain what you mean.
Okay, so like one of the things in the school system is they go out here and they, stereotype these young black boys and stuff. They're quick to throw them in suspension. They're quick to arrest them in schools.
Yeah.
They understand they're just as much a part of this system as a soldier in Afghanistan.
Okay.
Because for all this shit to happen like it does, for you to be in position after high school to where you have to go to the military, because that's what's happening. People end up in situations where they have to go to the military. You do that because you've been ostracized in society so long. So you go through the school system, they don't educate you, they throw the book at you if you make the least little mistake. And that domination mindset rules the school system just as much as does the war, the wars and stuff.
Yeah, but wait. But how does that get the teachers union? Why does the teachers union go from that to backing backing the other candidate because of Tulsi Gabbard's anti-war stance? I don't understand the connection between the two.
Because they understand that her being anti-war, that same mindset that makes you anti-war is going to give you the same mindset to come in that school system and change stuff. A lot of those teachers don't want stuff to change.
Oh, I see. Okay, you're saying it's not that she's anti-war. It has more to do with the fact that Tulsi Gabbard is going to try to change the way the school system is. But
because that same kind of mindset that's going to want you to change the war system is going to make you want to change how the school system is, and this stuff is going to get harder for them,
But they said, wait. But they themselves said they had no issue with her policy with regards to school. Like they said, all of her other domestic policies were perfectly fine to them. That's what they said in the article. They said everything else was fine. They had took explicit issue with her going to meet Bashar al-Assad and her policy from the standpoint of U.S. military being anti-interventionist.
Wow. Okay, well, I just threw that out there kind of as a thing to think. Cause I think,
hey, you tried. You were going for it. You're going for it.
Yeah, but I mean, I see a lot of different stuff just kind of just like I had this big argument with these people over Palestine.
Yeah.
And, you know, their whole, it was on Facebook, but the whole thing they were saying was that, you know, Israel has to do whatever they got to do to protect themselves from the Palestinians. So the Palestinians are like inherently dangerous.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The reason that got under my skin was because as a black man, I understand that people see me that way. And then that's how they justify, you know, just shooting a guy for having a cell phone and shit like that. So that's why I got heated.
Our perspective, like people sometimes forget that perspectives are relative. And, you know, as your race, culture, where you were born, when you were born, the time frame, all of those things go into the direct idea on how you view and see the world. I see a commonality with the Palestinian plight. No, I'm not in the exact same situation, but I know what American history has been. So when I look at what's taking place with them and I hear some of the stuff that Israelis say about this stuff, I see it not through the lens of the person who's the dominating, occupying force. I see it through the lens of the person who's being occupied. If I have any bias in this, I will let that bias be for the people who are taking the shit end of the stick. So I feel you on that. And I've had people who push back on some of my other videos that are dealing with the Israeli-Palestinian thing myself. So very cool. But look, man, thank you for calling in. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks.
All right.
I'll see you, man.
All righty. That was a good reach. That was a good try. That was a good try. Good try. That was a good try. I hope one of the damn TYT. I hope one of them calls too. I saw. I was reading it. I was halfway reading the thing, and I was like, I was getting fired up as I was thinking about it. I was like, oh yes. Let me get home. I'd love to have this conversation. Chat room visitors like Jay Scott and Gardner. Trina be fine. Bob Ramirez is a bad one. Bob Ramirez is fucking awesome. Basil Peterson. Trina be fine. Remember, they were pro Bernie, right? For the whole primary, just became pragmatic, like most of pro Trump. Jamal, I'm going to need you to create a third party that represents the white working class, okay? And you know what's funny? Maybe that's it. But God, man, why does it have to represent the white working class? You and all your other workers are essentially on the same playing field. What's going on, man?
Hey, Jamal.
What's happening?
Yeah, this is Steven Schleiss again from Sacramento, California.
Okay.
So, the last caller that called in, and he was talking about you don't know what kind of deals that Cenk has done.
Correct.
Cenk has done with the $20 million and everything. And that kind of tied together a lot of my ideology in a way that really manifests in the way that a paradigm shift can occur if we know that a capitalist business is transferred from a capitalist business into a democratic workers cooperative.
There is no way Jake is going to do that. There's no way.
No. I'm not saying that.
Oh.
This is a different topic.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I was like, there's no way he's going to give that baby up.
This just kind of made kind of a huge epiphany with me as I was watching this on how if we actually had, specifically in the United States, a worker cooperative sector on how you could actually judge companies and their decisions through that of how it affects the people, because we know in America we've been taught and trusted that companies are people, and this is why it comes up, and it's not something that has massive outcry in the streets. Like if that were to happen in France, you would have everyone out in the streets because the ideology of a French person has not been indoctrinated to have this ultimate consumerist culture that's so down to your core that like people in America, like I used to be up until a couple of years ago, if someone would diss PlayStation or Sony, I would yell at them reactionary in a political nature.
Yeah.
Or if someone were to diss Apple, I would be no. You can't diss Apple. Screw Android. Yeah, you become to identify a company as your friend in the United States culture.
Yeah.
So if we actually had a worker cooperatives with a movement and a notion of democratizing the enterprise and democratizing the creation that we have in this, because we like in the United States we have had such a great pride in American-made things that was ripped away from us from NAFTA. And the rich and the powerful have been able to manipulate us into blaming others for that sense of tearing away of our values, of American-made stuff is the best stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that's just kind of in our culture, specifically for me as a white male, even though half of my family is immigrants from out of that escaped Nazi Germany, and then half of mine is people that have been here since I guess the Mayflower or whatever. So it's really weird that I can see how the worker co-op, how Richard Wolff, you know Richard Wolff?
He's been on the show.
Is so yeah, I know. I was very happy about that. That was
awesome.
See that this. I don't know what I'm doing.
I would
there.
have kept him on here for like 4 hours if I could have had the opportunity to keep Richard Wolff on for 4 hours.
I talked to Harriet Fraud about getting you on there. I hope that had something to do with it, but it's very weird how that I could see how a worker co-op movement. We need the movement behind it. I watch a lot of Richard Wolff stuff, I can see how
Richard Wolff is being slightly coy. Like you're right, and I'm not against it, but it's a political strategy of sorts. It's like Richard Wolff is trying to get this thing of workers owning the means of production, and he's looking at it at the lens of that through two means. There's an awesome conversation between Richard Wolff and plutocrat Varney on Fox News, and Richard Wolff is saying exactly what you're saying. Well, I don't want to take the wealth away from anybody. I just want to have worker co-ops. I believe that we should distribute it fairly in the first place. And Varney is like, you're trying to get rid of me. And he's like, no, I'm just trying to have a democratic process that allows us to have workers. With a smile as he's saying it, because he knows Varney is right. He's trying to get rid of him. If you're trying to eviscerate.
Wait. What do you mean? How does he know that Varney is right? On which point again?
Because Varney is right from the standpoint of getting rid of the plutocratic class. That the whole point of the worker co-op thing, there is no worker co-op that are going to pay people millions of dollars.
What Varney is saying, what everything I've seen with Varney on there, what Varney is deflecting and
wait. Listen to what I'm saying. Hold on. Listen to what I'm saying. Wait.
Rewriting his.
Wait. Listen to what I'm saying.
All right.
Varney and Wolff are in agreement. Varney being right, just because somebody is right, doesn't necessarily mean that what they're saying is bad. No. They could actually just be right because the whole point of it is right.
Okay. But what do you mean? But how? Let me explain it this way. He's saying. I really don't know how you got that from what he's saying.
Okay.
On
listen
how
to
he
what I'm
agrees
saying.
the plutocratic class is bad. Because he says crony capitalism. Like
no.
I don't know.
If you listen to what I'm saying, I would explain it to you.
Sorry, I'm autistic. I have a hard time with these kind of things.
The worker co-op thing is an awesome idea. Ultimately, this idea of having workers democratically control the working apparatus. In that situation, you don't need a CEO. You don't need all of things. You have workers who are making the determinations for the companies themselves. So that's the worker co-op thing. But understand, the moment that you have this particular movement, the more of these that take place, the less private companies. Meaning the less companies where you have CEOs, which means the sector of the society that has large amounts of wealth start to narrow. The wealth distribution between the rich and the poor starts to narrow because you're not going to have a worker co-op where they're paying people large amounts of cash. What Richard Wolff knows is that this allows, as you're saying, you're literally saying this when you're talking about, allows a certain movement and a change in the way that we go about our affairs in this nation. It's like a new form of society. Varney doesn't like this because Varney is a plutocrat. And the last thing he wants is to see his wealth lessen or people in his class see his wealth lessen. Both of them know what they're saying in this case. What you're saying is not wrong. I'm just making the point that Richard Wolff is saying this knowing that this is what the outcome is. Does that make sense?
I definitely, it definitely makes sense. Okay. Just you have gained a lot more understanding of this for some reason, and I would really love for what I've been trying to tell. There's a echo. I don't know why it is, but what? Why is there an echo? So anyway,
let's see. Let me turn my mic down. Go for it.
So what I've been trying to tell, still echo there. Well, anyway, so what I've been trying to tell the people on the left that I've been able to contact, like Harriet Fraud, she talks to me every couple of weeks and whatever, and it's really weird how I emailed her out of an emotional fervor and put out everything that would help me like with my ideological struggle.
Yeah.
And she responded back and said, "Oh yeah, I'll be your mentor." I'm like, "What the heck?"
Wow.
So I was very confused. And I was like, "That's the power of the left is when somebody proves to you you're on the side." That echo is really hard to deal with. I'm very sorry.
I don't hear it. I hear a hiss.
I know.
And I don't think the people on. Oh, okay. They are hearing echoes. Okay. It wasn't on the other channel. I'm not sure why it's on this one.
Yeah. Okay. So that's very easy from this. No, it's still there. Whatever. Oh my gosh. Well, anyway. So the thing that I think the left needs to understand is that if you are involved enough and you're overdetermined, you will be able to make change. I think that's what Richard Wolff proves through his at least his online lecture series, but reading all of his books really helps. Help understanding Marx and how Marx came to his ideas. It's specifically Richard Wolff and Resnick. Mm-hmm. Okay, so do you know who Resnick is?
Yeah, Peter Resnick. I think it's called Peter Resnick.
Yeah, Resnick is Richard Wolff's Engels.
Right.
That's how I see it.
I see.
Do you see it that way? Have you made that connection before?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Marx and Engels.
Yeah, and what this proves is the level of sociality between leftists. So this is what proves the power of the left is when the people of the world socialize more without a sense of reactionary response, which TYT kind of makes happen. TYT makes this happen, this reactionary response that fuels the plutocracy. This is why I hate listen to them, and I don't know if I should still hate listen to them, but they're my right-wing news.
Would you say I
like
hate listen?
TYT?
Would you say I hate listen to them? I don't like or dislike them. There's certain stories. I don't like. Yeah,
well, I wish I could be in your position. Yeah, it's all about dividing certain segments. Maybe I hate listening to them because I went through a certain transformation, and you didn't really have to go through that because you're in a different identity class than me. But you might be in a better like economic class right now for me, just from what I've seen your house in. But this is just the corner, but it looks better than my like Walmart apartment that I have so far. And it's in Virginia, so it has a less. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm very autistic.
Rent is much less in Virginia. Like, somebody was telling me their rent in, I think it's like in New York or California or some ridiculous amount. We pay for maybe $700. You have a decent apartment in Virginia. Somebody said you couldn't get a doghouse in California for $700.
Well, I live in a one-bedroom apartment for $1,172.
Are you serious?
A month.
Oh, that's painful.
Yeah, in Sacramento. Yeah, I mean, and that just puts a lot of pressure on things. And I know the plutocrats know how much each section of they know the market, and they use that market data to their advantage on getting news out there. But I think the power of the left, which how I define the left, I did a call into the Tom Hartman program.
Really?
And how I tried to, I did a call into the Tom Hartman program, trying to explain how I have come to the understanding of the political spectrum, and how I would like to redefine it.
I'm curious about this.
Yeah,
I tried to call into Tom Hartman, and I've never been able to get through.
Yeah, see, that's why I don't trust Tom Hartman, because he gets me every time. Like, I've been doing tests, and every time I call in, he accepts it. And I don't know if he sees that it's from California or something, but I think he's doing some. I don't trust him, and I can't nail down his ideology. He has no predefined ideology that I can see.
He does. No, he does.
I can't see it. I can't see it with how I.
He's just a
Well,
Democrat.
I'm not, but
I mean, like,
yeah,
when you say
but
he doesn't
he's
have
a
predefined
sly,
ideology.
he's a sly Democrat in his own class, trying to be a Democrat as an ideology. Like, what the heck is he doing?
No.
He says he's not liberal.
What I mean by
Like,
this
what?
is the ideology is purely
I don't
defined by what's politically expedient. He's a Democrat. The thing that you're trying to do, you're trying to find a logically consistent reason for the way people behave. Like, you're trying to find consistency.
But
the person
he understands
does this
how the
because they have
internet
a
works.
ideology
Like how I'm
that's-
seeing it.
But I'm saying
I
Tom
see
Hartman,
that, but like he
you
understands.
would always run into trouble with that in that scenario because they're Democrats. They would take a tactically, like, for example, I'll give you a perfect example. Do you remember Obama was locking up whistleblowers? He was essentially using the Espionage Act to put people in prison. Now, Democrats say nothing about this. This is perfectly okay that Obama is doing this. It's the president of the United States. He's a Democrat, and you would think that Democrats don't like whistleblowers. Donald Trump gets into office, and Donald Trump says one thing about whistleblowers, and all of a sudden, all of these Democrats, we must protect the whistleblowers. We must protect the whistleblowers. Donald Trump is after whistleblowers. Now, if you were looking for a consistent ideology, you would say this doesn't make sense. How are they against whistleblowers in one but need to protect them in the other? It does make sense.
But what is the time at which he's made these things that made you think this way? But like from what I see him as, if you see the internet as a nebulous timescape, because I've only started watching him since I've really gotten into Richard Wolff stuff.
Yeah.
And like the internet is like this nebulous timescape in which you never know when your viewers are going to have seen different parts of you.
Yes.
So if you're on the internet, but
so true.
It's a very weird. I can't nail down his actual ideology. Democratism isn't an ism that is out there as a thing. So I'm talking about like the actual like ideologies that people who are involved in dissecting people's ideologies, which only the left is.
I love that.
Well, that's not a thing. Yeah, but maybe we could make that a thing now and put in that hole where.
That's what it is.
Yeah, but maybe we could do that now. That's what we're creating right now is an ideology to define him as and to have him like attack like or defend. We have to call into the Tom Hartman program and have him defend Democratism because we've made it a thing.
Tom Hartman, I used to love Tom Hartman. Like, so I know what you're talking about on this.
I want to dissect that. Why do you not like him anymore?
Who, me? I love Tom Hartman. My only issue with Tom Hartman is that Hartman is
I never liked him. I only like when he has Richard Wolff on.
He's look, wait. My only issue with
Tom Hartman, and when he talks to me, he's just agreeable to everybody. If he just sees you, I don't know. Now I'm changing my mind because I'm changing my mind. I'm changing. I want to explain why I'm changing my mind right now.
On Tom Hartman?
Because no, on the definition of I don't know. Epistemology, I guess, of what we know about Tom Hartman. So, I really think I really want you to do like a video on my call-in on that because it's gotten really good comments, and I don't know why. I just called in because like I had something I wanted to say to him that I defined him as a liberal, and I hate liberals. I hate them.
Hold on, wait.
I understand because I work at Walmart.
Wait. You said you called into Tom Hartman. He took your call. What was your call about when he took your call?
Because in my political transformation, I and still am. I still hate liberals. I still very much hate liberals. I called into him, letting him know that I hate liberals, basically. But all of the comments are very good about me, and negative on how
Focus. What did he say when you told him that you hated liberals?
So no, but that was my goal, is to get this across in speaking to him.
Oh, did you get it across? What did he say when you told him that?
See, that's what pointed out his hypocrisy on what I knew about him. Then this is why I feel like pointing out hypocrisy is a point of the left.
Wait, focus. What did he say? What was Tom Hartman's response when you said you hated liberals?
You're gonna have to watch it. Okay, so his response was completely agreeing with everything I said at every political turn I took. He completely agreed with everything I said at every political turn I took, trying to explain how I define the political chart. Now, I've always seen the four quadrant political chart as a farce and something that needs to be redefined.
Yeah.
Okay, so that 4-point political chart I see as a true statement at which the point of propaganda is enacted.
So wait,
focus.
So just so I'm clear, the issue with Tom Hartman was that you didn't get the chance to attack him because he didn't defend anything. Essentially,
no. My goal wasn't to attack him. My goal was to create a dialogue to further the left's agenda.
But you said, okay, but just so I'm understanding this,
my goal wasn't really to attack him.
You said you hated liberals, and you said you called up the Tom Hartman show to get that across that you hated liberals, and that every point that he made, he dipped and dodged, and for the most part just agreed with you, where he was so agreeable.
No, he didn't dip and dodge. He empathetically faked his way there.
But how do you know?
But without understanding my class. What?
How do you know he was faking?
I really don't know. That's why I'm calling into you, honestly, and that's why I want you to disembowel this video. And you're really good at analyzing things and drawing things out longer they can ever go. You're really good at making videos last a little bit longer than they ever should, and which is really cool. And it's a very important internet kind of directory of
making videos go longer than they should ever go.
No, but with the political analysis intact to it. So like. And anything that has a direct political analysis to a time, which is the timestamp on your video, you could always go back to that and see why you thought that. And like, I'm just seeing as your videos, if like an alien race tried to understand our political nature, they would go to your videos
that's
first.
Awesome. I love that because I often say, I try to look at it as if you're sitting on the moon looking at it. And because look, I tend to go by,
see, I wouldn't know that you said that because your videos are so long, I can't get through them.
But look,
your videos are so long, I can't get through all of them.
Only go up to the point that you enjoy. So, most of the point, it's like one part is audience, the other part is just kind of dealing with the videos with the audience. Like with you, you're the audience. Right now, this video is going way too long, essentially talking to my audience.
No, right now I'm a collaborator. And I'm very overdetermined. Of course I am.
You're somebody who's just calling
seriously, in a purely Marxist economy, right now I would be monetarily compensated for what I'm doing. But
not so much.
What?
Not so much.
Well, no, in a purely Marxist economy, you would get compensated for every individual task you would do.
Yeah. I think you have an
real.
All right, so I'm going to
I've read Marx.
I'm going to end this.
Like I understand what Marx is.
Steven, I'm going to end this. Thank you very much for calling in. I'm going to take the next call.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Have a good one, my man.
That gets into utopia.
Hello, who's calling? What's the name?
Terry Hall.
What's happening, Terry Hall?
How you doing, Jamal? I've been listening to you for a long time, brother. I can't thank you enough for being a voice of reason in this tide of BS that we're dealing with.
You don't have to thank me. It's mutual. I mean, you guys let me do what I do. I mean, it's literally mutual. It's a symbiotic relationship. I couldn't exist if there was nobody here to listen. So I appreciate you as much.
That's one of the things I like about you the most. You actually, take the people listening in into context and not go by just some BS narrative. But I didn't catch the beginning of the video, and I saw a picture of TYT up there. I didn't.
So this is what it boils down to. TYT did a video where they made the point. The name of the video was "This Man Got Trump Elected," and in saying "This man got Trump elected," the video basically boiled down to a Bloomberg article where Black Men for Bernie went out, essentially pushed for Bernie Sanders, and when Bernie Sanders was cheated, elements of the Trump campaign and Trump team essentially talked to him, and he started working with Trump. Now, in doing so, working with Trump, he started going around trying to get other African Americans to vote for Trump or to not vote at all. Under this idea of, he was getting paid, meaning he was getting help for going around, because that's what he was using the money for, essentially going around telling people to do it. And
that's what they gave him the money for.
Well, they gave him the money in order to
promote the idea, of course.
Well, right, but we just know that he was riding around in a van, in a bus, and he got enough money to essentially go around in a bus. He essentially, paid for his expenses.
And they think that made some kind of impact on the election. That's what's so funny to me.
They're like, this man got Trump elected. Now, in the video, they at the very least explain, they say, well, I mean, we don't really know how many votes this guy got. We don't know if this guy got any votes. In one case, somebody threw rocks at him. In another case, an old man threatened to beat him up. As somebody who's in the black community, I do this video, and I'm pretty strident in regards to my opinion in regards to Democrats. It is very clear.
Yeah, I appreciate that about you, I must say.
It's very clear. My mom, however, understands my opinion, voted for Bernie Sanders, and despite everything else, knowing how her son felt, knowing her son voted for Joe Stein, went out and voted for Hillary Clinton. I have a hard time believing that a guy riding around in a bus is going to have a greater impact than a guy talking to his mom to try to get him to vote for somebody else. My issue
I personally hassled more Hillary sites, and I was more of an impact on Hillary. I was a bigger troll against Hillary than any Russian collusion they could have created. I mean, it's ridiculous how they try to bring that up.
I mean, it's. I guess my feeling on this is, why are you blaming and shaming the voters? Ultimately, this guy who they're calling stupid or they're calling incompetent, I call him naive, but they're acting as if he had no agency, that he was essentially duped and used as all this other stuff. Now, in one case, he was somewhat duped from the standpoint of they promised him stuff, essentially more money.
Yeah, they would, and help the community and things like that,
exactly.
Make him feel like he's actually doing good instead of just promoting some.
But they're acting as if this is just what one party does, as opposed to this is what both parties.
That's the reason I wanted to call about, honestly. I didn't want to feel like I was changing gears, but it all does kind of fall into this
has screwed over
this whole football mentality that people take towards politics. It kills me, Jamal. That's something I really do appreciate about you, too, is you don't see it as this kind of team sport where they see political actors as players when the true fact of the matter is they're nothing more than mouthpieces.
Yeah.
And they're not like the stats on these people. If you actually check the stats, if they actually treated it like football and checked the stats on these people, they'd find out that they're horrible individuals. I mean, that was one thing I used to say to people who would just try to come at me about, oh, you need to be supporting Hillary during all this crap, was, have you checked her voting record? Do you know what she actually supports in reality? And
most
they're like,
of them don't.
Oh, but she represents this. And it's like, no, she doesn't. She doesn't vote that.
So
don't. Wouldn't you say what someone votes represents? Exactly.
Most of them don't. And most of them know nothing about her. Only Donald Trump is a maniac. That's as far as the political analysis that most of it went in regards to trying to get people to vote.
It is. It's your team versus mine. And TYT, almost the way they set their scene up too, honestly. It looks like a sports casting thing. The way they come across politics is almost like a sports casting thing. And their team is obviously the Democrats. And, you've got people who are biased, the people who comment for whatever specific sports team are going to be pro that sports team. They're going to say, oh, we took a loss today, but it was because of this, and this, instead of maybe you guys just played a shitty game.
Yeah. It's not that black man's job to get votes for Hillary Clinton. It's not.
Right.
I'm sorry.
If she's not going to bother campaigning.
She lost. She got 90% of the black vote. And you're like, that's not enough for TYT? Like, how many blacks need to vote for this guy? I mean, need to vote for Hillary Clinton.
Well, and that's what kills me too, is that TYT, like you're saying, and a lot of people in the progressive community are saying that the fact of the matter, TYT is kind of sheep herding people back into the Democratic Party and trying to ignore.
No.
They are.
You're being too
like
kind.
Justice Democrat.
You're being
too
kind.
They're exactly. I know. I try to be open-minded, but that's what kills me is the fact of the matter of that. And I've got friends who claim to be progressive and say they speak for certain values and things, but then they're all buying into the Trump Russia nonsense, and it's because they're getting it from TYT. And I'm like, none of this has been substantiated.
And they would vote for whatever random Democrat that gets put up.
And exactly. And every time I try to criticize the Democratic Party, they immediately turn on me and go, well, what about the Republican Party? Were you just saying the Republican Party does this? Would you support the... And I'm like, no, that has nothing to do with it. The fact of the matter is that you can't see beyond your own team. You think it's the other team, even when you've done it. Yep. When I bring up the things that Obama had done, I'm in Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma, but I was raised in the country. Got a lot of real hillbilly and ignorant people around you. but it's all right. You're from Virginia. I'm sure they got a few down there too. But
it's deep south, man. We're in the home of the Confederacy, so
exactly. And buckle the Bible belt over here, and yeah, you've got racists, and they say, oh, we hate Obama, and I'm like, dude, you hate Obama? Why? Because he's black? Dude, there's legitimate reasons to hate Obama. You know, his race has nothing to do with it. All that, like you said earlier in a video I was watching, is the 9 out of 10 people he took down with drone strikes were civilians, innocent people, just walking around. You know what I mean? And here he is on freaking Jimmy Kimmel, like being Mr. Suave. Hey, TPP,
like nothing is
the
wrong.
American worker.
Like
you know
great.
What I mean?
I mean, think about.
Oh yeah, let's show. I mean, did you ever see that video where they had some Australian politician was down there trying to promote the TPP and someone threw a dildo at him and it hit him in the face?
Oh wow! No, I didn't see that one.
Oh, you got to look that one up, brother. You got to look that one up. That's just for a good laugh. That's a good one.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Some guy was promoting the TPP and someone chucked a big old. Yeah, well, I don't want to carry that away on your show, but you get the idea. Check it out sometime.
I'll check it out.
But the main point that I did want to bring up, and I'll let you get back to your show, because man, I do appreciate it, and I tell you what, I'll turn you on and just leave you in the background, because it's almost like it's nice to have, let's say, a similar voice of reason in the room, and I don't get that a lot. You know, a lot of the times when I'm talking to people and I bring up the actual reasons behind maybe military excursions or things we're doing, when I start talking about what's going on with Syria or the reason that Trump got rid of the White Hats, or how the White Hats were the only ones to actually come up with information about Syrian gas. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, you know, everyone just takes it as they take it as the word of God, and then you find out that those guys were directly funded by the U.S. military, so much so that Trump had them basically fired.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like, come on.
I mean, essentially, fired to the White House
because to me, I don't know. I was raised old school by my grandparents. Mm-hmm. Certainly, there are people of their time, like you were saying, your mother, you know, who I personally have heard the stories you told about what you've been through. You know, you're an amazing person, and having gone through struggles myself, you know, that's awesome for your mother to be there. That she's an amazing woman. I just want to say that she's an amazing woman. But you know, there is a certain dedication that people have to their time. Why certain people still vote Democrat, because they come from a time when maybe Democrat meant something to them, but now it's just a different game. You know.
Yeah,
but the problem is they're still trying to play it like it's political football. I have an aunt who's all about hating Trump and all this Democrat hardcore Hillary freak, and I'm like, have you ever looked up her voting policy? Did you know she created while Secretary of State a program to spread American-style fracking all over Europe? Were you aware she was doing that on the American tax dollar?
A lot of
them, you know what I
mean?
And she's so progressive.
A lot of them don't care.
You know,
I mean, it doesn't factor into it. I've had conversations with guys, and smart people on other things know nothing about politics, and you would kind of say, "What about this? What about this? What about this? What about this?" And what about
morality? You know, it's like that goes right out the window if it doesn't play into their team. If their team can be as immoral as all possible, but they'll say, "Well, the other guys are worse."
You know,
there's
also this other aspect to this, whereas there is a sliver of the population that they also go for. Meaning, you have a sliver of the population that may be doing relatively okay, that may say, things for me are pretty decent, and so I don't necessarily see what all of these other people are bitching on.
The income of, like, what is it, like $70,000 or something, where people get where they make enough money to where all their bills are paid, so they don't particularly give a crap about anyone else. They're doing all right.
Well, as a software engineer, you would come across many of the people, I think most of the people I came across, maybe one lefty, but most of the people, one guy was a libertarian, where he's like, yeah, man, I just think, you know, the charity centers should deal with poverty. The government shouldn't have anything to do with it. That guy's an idiot. That guy's an utter idiot.
I don't know. Libertarians, every time I deal with them, it just seems like someone who doesn't really have an understanding of their political views.
The reason he's saying that is only because, you know, he's doing pretty well. He doesn't necessarily care. Another guy who calls himself a Christian, also libertarian, and
I love it when they call themselves Christians.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. It's like, how are
And
you
then
a
they do
Christian
things
and a
that are so
libertarian?
immoral, you know? It's like,
makes no
Jesus wouldn't be
sense.
cool with that. Why are you cool with that?
It makes no sense. It's like, how are you a Christian and a libertarian? Or how are you a Christian and a Republican, for that matter? Like, some of this stuff is so bizarre to me that they come up with these mixtures. But they do.
It's crazy to see it in real life tomorrow. You know, I mean, of course, we're seeing and commentating, talking, viewing all these things that are going on. You're so amazing. You're going to get to talk to Abby Martin. She's so fine.
Yes,
she's
awesome.
so amazing, though. She's amazing. Like, oh my God, amazing person. You know,
so
you talk to Lee, can't you? Talk to these. Well, I don't mean that to be the first thing, but I can't help it. She's so funny.
I know. It's like
we're not going to get lost on that. We're not going to get lost on how beautiful she is, because honestly, her personality and the things that she's doing greatly overwhelm her.
She went to Venezuela. Like, there's so much of this that I'm so fascinated about to talk to her about.
Right there, found out what was going on in Gaza. You know, I've got some hillbilly relatives that just start quoting the Bible at me when I try to tell them about what's really happening over there, and I'm like, listen, religion has nothing to do with it. Religion has nothing to do with it. This is all a military power play. They're trying to get out of the dollar. And that's something, if you don't mind, whenever you get a chance to do a video of covering, because I know Lee Camp has done that a couple of times, of the regime change policy that keeps happening every time someone tries to change to a gold-backed dollar or away from the petrol. You know?
I've heard Lee Camp's video, and I saw his thing. He wrote an article on this, and I have Truth Dig and a bunch of articles coming to my queue. It's not just Iran. Like it's also
almost everyone we've toppled at one time is
currency, and Russia.
Libya tried to do it, and we took them down. You know what I mean?
Well,
Saddam Hussein was talking about doing it.
Is if Lee Camp is right, then this is somewhat more problematic than just Iran.
Oh China it's a lot bigger than
a world-backed, essentially gold-backed currency. Russia is a military associate of China. And they've been hoarding large amounts of gold, essentially accumulating gold.
Oh, yeah. And if they switch it to a gold-backed currency, who's rich now?
Well, the point is, if they really switch over to a gold-backed currency, and if there is enough popular support for that switch over, that would be a dramatic decline in America. One of the things...
Yes, it would decimate the petrodollar.
Well, not just right, and if we look at our British history, one of the things that this kind of decline of the British Empire was the loss of the pound being the world reserve currency. That would be a big fucking deal, and I have no idea what reverberations would take place. I understand what Lee Camp is saying, that each of these countries that got rid of the dollar, that country got taken down. Orion has been in the United States sites for a very, very long time, but I would say if that's true, though, if Lee Camp is right, and if that's somewhat of a one-to-one relationship between getting rid of the dollar and some kind of military conflict, we have a fuck fest on our hands. You have a fuck fest on our hands. So.
Well, damn it, my buddy came over and I just got sidetracked. Sorry, but the whole damn it, I hate that. I get that sometimes, where you've got such a passionate train of thought and then the slightest thing changes it. I apologize. Where were we, Jamal?
You're fine. But I'm going to, there's another person who wants to call in. And
of course, I don't want to hog up your airtime.
No.
But I wanted to tell you, man, I really appreciate you, dude.
Oh, well, I appreciate you also, man. Thank
you. I can't say that enough. I really am. I'm a huge fan. I was sign on 6031 or something. So,
wow,
6031. I'm here. Yes, sir. So I'm proud to see that you're already at 12,000. Keep on going. Keep it going. Keep it going. Keep it going. Full steam.
Thanks,
Too
man.
sweet to be sour. Too nice to be me, my friend.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Have a good one, my man.
All right, brother. All right. Take it easy.
All right. Joe Terezio. Call in. Ask Michael Pernetti and David Harvey. I would love to have Pernetti. Pernetti, it's funny. Tabitha, when you said Peretti today, I hadn't heard Peretti in like 2 or 3 years. And I pulled up his stuff and was listening to his stuff talking about the fall of the Roman Empire. Yeah. Let's see. Zorro. What's happening, Zorro?
Hey, what's up? I'm not going to be on long because I have a live stream at 8.
Go for it.
And it's not about yesterday because there's not enough time.
Okay.
I did want to say I did see some of the video that you had yesterday. Are you talking about the one with Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur?
Cenk Uygur, right.
Yeah, I mean it's an attitude you're just going to have to get you. I mean, you probably are used to it.
I don't
but,
watch it, so it's not
you know,
getting used to.
I think
it's just.
I think the idea of shaming voters is ineffective, and
it's beyond ineffective. I mean, like I guess my issue with this, because it felt like it was so overbearing on race. Maybe that's what my issue is. It's just overbearing on race and shaming the guy for making a different choice. And by the way, making a different choice that millions of other voters made. Like, if this guy is stupid, or this guy is incompetent, or this guy was taken for a ride, then millions of people were. Like, this is not a factor of just one individual or one guy trying to get a bunch of other blacks to vote for him. It's an utter failure and incompetence of the Democratic Party that would even get this person who's been culturally associated with the Democratic Party for probably his entire life to leave that party.
Yeah, I think, you know, I have the same experience when I talked. Yesterday, I was just arguing with this woman who was a former lobbyist who worked in the George H.W. Bush administration. And she was saying, you know, first I said, you know, you're basically, you know, you represent the corporate establishment, and that's who you speak for.
Yeah.
So I don't have to agree with you. That's your problem. So she said, well, then you must be some sort of communist. And I'm like,
I love that.
I'm like, yeah, right. I mean,
but no, you're
and
right.
I told her I work.
That's what it
I
boils
work
down
for.
to.
You know, I supported Rand Paul.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no.
Like,
what you're saying
like,
is right. That's what it boils down to. That guy's vote is his own. He's perfectly. Look, regardless of whether somebody got to him or not to get him to convince him, he was clearly already pissed and already on the attitude of, they cheated my guy, and it is not my responsibility to get Hillary Clinton elected. That is her responsibility. And like you said, the voter shaming is like, getting elected is your problem, not mine. And TYT is getting on essentially saying, look at this imbecile, you know, going about, you know, trying to get Donald Trump elected. Yeah.
And if you watch that video of my friend Adrian, did you see that undercover call he did in the end?
I haven't heard it yet, but I have it. I got the email.
So in it, you basically get, I actually just wrote another article for Hard News Network about it, you know, kind of summarizing it. Okay. And the whole thing is just him, first of all, talking about how he believes that we have a monitored and licensed media here in the United States.
Can you send me that article, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess email?
Yeah, that works.
Okay, so yeah, I'll send that to you. And he also he says that the people that he used to be with in the group with, you know, the people that you talked to on the phone that one day.
Yeah.
He said that they're basically sick, you know, they're out of their minds, and that they have to live with the fact that they had elected the nightmare that we live in. But the reality is that, you know, the person who should have to live with that reality would probably be, you know, first and foremost would be Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
And Barack Obama. You know,
she lost. That's for her to lose. Like, it is nobody. Your vote is your own. It is nobody. It is their responsibility to get asses to the polls to vote for them, and they do that by all sorts of ways. Hillary Clinton's problem is she ran the campaign as if, you know, her vote, you owed her your vote. That, you know, you should be appreciative that this woman was standing there to prevent the storm, you know, the darkness that is Donald Trump. Well, that didn't work. And then, you know, tilting your network that go after a guy because that particular guy didn't support your candidate is nonsense. Yeah, that's nonsense. Utter nonsense.
Yeah, I'll send you. I got to run. I'll send you the article. You know, aside from all the crap we disagree on in the past,
so people know.
Bold, it is Bold Like a Leopard, like the screen in my head.
Okay. Bold Like a Leopard. Yeah, I'm going to check it out. I haven't read it yet. But send me the article from Hard News.
Yeah, I'll send you the article. Just it informs you of a lot of the info, the updates, and all that.
Very cool.
So I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, man.
And I saw somebody in the chat called me a Nazi, so I've been called a Nazi and a communist on the same day.
You're not.
One up, baby.
I hope they know that. Yeah, you're not a Nazi. You're not a communist. I don't think you're a Nazi or communist.
Not that I know of.
No, not that you know of. I don't think you're a Nazi or a communist.
All right.
Look, man. I
have a good night,
I know.
man.
Wait. I know we disagree magnificently on the Israeli thing. I don't think you're a Nazi. I think people have certain cultural and political dispositions that make them more tuned to certain factors that they weigh a particular way. Does that make you a Nazi? No. No, I don't even think that necessarily helps the conversation. So I would prefer people not call each other Nazis.
All right. Well, I mean, I can take it. I've been called worse. So I guess have a good night. I'll talk to you later, though.
Have a good one, man.
Have a good rest of your show.
You too. He said somebody called him a Nazi. Jesus Christ. And a communist. Between the two, I would take the communist over the Nazi, if I'm being honest. Libertarian equals unrealistic suburbanite and or relentless shark. It's completely unworkable. It's a ridiculous lunacy. It's utterly lunacy. Truth, I'm on Hard News Network chat live almost every other day. Orthidium. Jamal, can you interview David Duke? Fuck no, I don't want to interview David Duke. Hello, what's the name and who's calling? Well, what's the name and who's calling? It's the same thing. But what's the name and what's the topic?
Danny Knapp. I was calling about the voter shaming.
Yes, voter shaming. What's happening? What's
Hey, man. Oh, I think I better call in while before your channel blows up so big you won't be able to talk to people like me no more.
Oh, whatever. I remember when I was down at like 1,000 or something. Somebody said, "Yeah, man, this is the good days because after this, you're never going to be able to do call-ins or do your format." Well, so far, it's still decent. I mean, it's been a large number of people that's influxes the channel. A large number of people in the chat. I don't get to see as many chats because, just from the volume of people, but it still works.
Yeah, well, here's the way I see it is, you think about Hillary, they spent $1.6 billion. They had the whole party apparatus. And if she doesn't get elected, it's the voters' fault, right?
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, did you watch did you watch Bernie Sanders on Chuck Todd? And what did he say? He said, oh, those progressive candidates, well, they might not be electable.
Who said that? What does he Bernie Sanders said that?
No, Chuck Todd. Chuck Todd was saying,
I thought you said
you're supporting these people. They might not be electable. So what they're saying is the progressives don't win. It's the candidate's fault. But if an established Democrat doesn't win, it's the voters' fault every fucking time.
Yeah. And you know what's wild about it? Nancy Pelosi is running around the country talking about a better deal. And then the Democrats are putting their thumb on the scale of the candidates that actually wants to implement a better deal.
Democrats can blow it out their ass, man.
Nonsense.
Nobody's buying it anymore. Is anybody buying it anymore?
Nancy Pelosi even came out. They asked Nancy Pelosi, they said, do you think that the party needs to change? Like, do you think that the public wants something else? She's like, no, I don't think so. We just need to change our message. I mean, our values are perfectly okay. We just need to change the way we've messaged these candidates.
Well, they just need to change their message and their advisors and most of their candidates and everybody that's in charge and their donors.
But understand, though, I always look at this from the standpoint of incentives. Well, I always look at it from incentives. But because it's politics. I remember somebody one day, I don't remember who it was, but they're a politician, and they were in this candid moment said, how do you get a bunch of people to do something that they don't necessarily have to do? Like that's the reason why in some countries violence is the tool that they use. But you have a political system. How did you get Bob, who's in this particular political party, has people want all sorts of things? How do you get Bob to do the thing that you want Bob to do? You know what I mean? And so you get into this situation of how do you push it? How do you push? What's your push? Well, if you don't have any power in that system, well, you don't have anything to push Bob on. Bob is just going to do whatever Bob does. I read that book, The Way Friends and Influence People, when I was in high school, but I don't remember what it said. Yeah.
There was some story about it. If there's a pencil laying on the floor, tell somebody pick up that pencil, they'll never do it, but you have to somehow convince them that it's in their interest. Like, oh, you're a neat and organized person. I bet you don't like that. Or something. Or scare the shit out of them. And from a political sense, not getting that person elected, meaning that person losing his election is politically death. For all intents and purposes, they're out of office. They've lost their seat. Well, in the Hillary thing, it was, you got to vote for Hillary or because it's damn scary and you're going to die and everything's going to happen. Yeah. But that's the same strategy. They've doubled down on that strategy. Like, if you've noticed. Well, they're doing it all over the place. They're doing it in Illinois with Pritzker, too. You got to vote for Pritzker.
Doug Jones
That's
barely
framed
beats a
wrong.
pedophile. Barely beats a
That's framed like there's only two outcomes. It's if you vote for Trump, and if you vote around Stevens, or in the case of Trump, same thing. Cedar versus Georgia.
Yeah, I don't like the vote shaming stuff. The vote shaming stuff is nasty. It's nasty to me, and because I think it's not just shaming one guy. You're talking about shaming a large swath of people who got sick of what the Democratic Party was doing. They just don't like the fact that Hillary lost.
Because I vote for Hillary, and she would.
Wait! You break it up. Somebody says you sound like Max Headroom.
Is that any better?
Somewhat, slightly, yes.
Sorry, I was just pointing out there's actually four options. Because you can vote for Hillary and she wins, and you can vote for Trump, he wins, but you can also vote for Hillary and she loses, and you can vote for Trump and he still loses, or you can vote for not either.
Well, neither.
What I'm saying is, out of those four options, the absolute worst damn thing you can do is vote for Hillary and she still loses.
And that's
which is what Sam Cedar did.
They, like I said, they burned their reputation at the gravestone of that campaign. I mean, when you if Sanders would have won the primary, then no issue. The world is great because for the most part, their audience, they are in direct alignment with their audience. There's no issue. There's no break. The moment that he gets up and says vote Clinton, it splits your audience. Like you have people who just get ejected from the thing because it's such a stark thing of they cheated him. You're talking about throw your bodies on the streets for other stuff, but when they're actually cheating the candidate, there's no throw your bodies on the street stuff. And vote Clinton. And part of that is he's part of the Democratic apparatus. Let's be honest. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but he's a Democrat. Ultimately, what they're going to do is try to get people to vote Democrat. I don't necessarily think this is controversial. People may not necessarily like the term sheepdog, but that's what it is. That's what it is.
I guess so.
Yeah, I don't. Look, I guess my feeling is if you want to save the Democratic Party, being what I call the politically equivalent of an abused spouse, it's not going to do it. If you're going to make the sandwich of a crackhead, this crackhead never becomes.
I want to save the American voter. I mean, that's what the problem is. The voter has to empower themselves to say, no, these parties don't have authority over me.
Yes.
I have authority over them. I'm not going to the poll to take a test and prove I'm the one grading the test.
Yes.
Right?
No, I agree with
you. So
it's
like,
but I mean,
yeah.
But it's the politician's job to get those people in the polls. I mean, that's the way I look at it. It's not the job. You would want voters to be informed, yes. Voters don't do that. Voters are stuck in a situation where they're just trying to make ends meet, and they do their job. They want these guys to do their job. Society doesn't necessarily work that way, and we get the society we get when the public itself takes its eye off the ball.
Well, I just want people to realize that they have authority over the politicians. The politicians don't have authority over them. At least when you go to the polls, you have authority. You're the teacher grading the test. You're not the student taking the test.
Yeah, but that's assuming they're paying attention to the fact that a test is taking place at all. I mean, most people don't pay attention. I mean, most people don't look at, and I used to blame people for this. I used to be angry at people for this, but I realized it's not their fault, man. I mean, ultimately, you have people who are in the system who just want to make ends meet. They are going from pillar to post, trying to earn as much as they could possibly earn for their family in a particular system that tells them that status and everything else is associated and attached to earning those things. You have half of the country who's barely making ends meet, if they're making ends meet at all. And, Alan Greenspan once made this comment saying that, this much debt is good because it keeps workers compliant. Workers stay at their jobs. They're not going to strike and everything else when they have all of this debt and bills. You have a particular society that kind of organizes people to be focused on purely survival, not necessarily looking at the political system and everything else that's adding to it, on survival. How do you get those people to pop their heads up and see, oh, wait a minute, this isn't serving me? And not see it in a superficial way of going for Democrat, but in a way of neither one of these parties are representing my interests in regards to what I want to take place in this country. That's where we're at. That's the voter empowerment thing. I think when people say, are you awake or woke up? I think that's what they're talking about. It's this feeling of why are all of these people not paying attention to this? I think it's that feeling. Like, I don't know how you get to that, though. Like, I don't know how you jar people out of that. I don't know if things just get so bad, people just kind of, get pissed. I have no idea. I strongly suspect that Obama being president in 2008 directed some of the energy away from that in an odd way. All of the fury and anger that was associated with the financial crash, Obama getting in office almost had this. It's almost like a do you remember on Star Trek the pun far? The pun far, when Vulcans would have to have sex or they would have to fight. It would be like sex or combat. Either you mate with your wife or you have combat. Otherwise, the energy kills the Vulcan. So Spock has the mate, or Spock fights and tries to kill James Kirk, his best friend. That's kind of what this is. And I know that's an odd scenario or an odd example, but that's kind of what it is. Obama comes in the office on the heels of a population that wants change. His entire thing was hope and change. The population was primed for it. They put a black man in that office. He got Republicans, independents, and Democrats on their message that something was going to change. And he was in that office with a House and a Senate, a supermajority of the Senate, and a presidency. The public wanted change. And they gave him the tools to do it. And he didn't do it. But the catch of it is, it was an African American who was taking the presidency. So to some degree, this thing of feeling like, yes, we did it, we got this over the finish line, as if there was an actual finish line, I think diverted some of the energy directed away from it. This idea of getting him there was enough, and him being there in and of itself was a victory and a triumph, and it was enough. So the energy gets diverted. Well, nothing really takes place at that point. You've just put somebody with a different face and different colored hands into the office, even though the things that they were doing were fundamentally the same as any other Democrat was doing. If I don't know how that anger should have been distributed against where it was intended, meaning the Wall Street and the plutocrats, and having this kind of new FDR-esque type thing. That's not what happened. That's not what happened. So now you have, the failure of the left gives lead to the rise of the right with a rapacious and an insane Donald Trump. That's my take. Well, that's how I see this.
The way I see it is it's up to us. It's not up to Burton. It's not up to Barack Obama. It's not up to Trump. It's not up to Hillary. It's going to be up to us, right? And I think maybe part of how we do it is to redefine what is a good citizen. What is a patriot? It's not somebody who waves their flag and shouts USA #1. It's somebody who informs himself and understands the concepts of systems and how to better the community and policy that will move us forward, right? I mean, that is it. We're the good citizens. We're the patriots, and we have to take that back from these idiot right-wingers waving their flags,
For that, though, you have to get past need and survival. It's like, let's say for the moment you were in a hut full of cavemen. Let's say you were in a tribe of 20 people. What would be your first items on the agenda? Survival.
Now that you mentioned that, because I always look back and I think it was natural for thousands and thousands of years for people to take care of one another. Now all of a sudden we're capitalists. We decide that everybody's on their phone or something.
Yeah. That's
not natural. That's not human nature. How did we lose that?
None of it is natural. I mean, there is no natural, if that makes sense. I mean, you have behaviors within certain systems. It's like, what does a human being act like in a capitalist system? Well, that's how a human being acts. In that sense, it's natural for a human being to act this way in a capitalistic system. What does a human being act like in a more cooperative system than is born? Does that make sense? Like, it's not so much as natural as an absolute. I agree with you on this. We've had systems before, collectives, where we didn't necessarily live in this particular way. I just think the moment introduce profit motive,
I think if you drop
survival,
10 people out of with no outside, naturally take care of one. I think that, and I think somehow we get that programmed out of.
Oh, you're breaking up.
Pardon, and I don't know. I'm probably getting up. Hey, I wanted to ask you before I hang up: how come it is that I watched Star Trek for years and I never got all these deep life lessons like you? You always have an antidote of this deep lesson from Star Trek. I never got that, and I watched the show for years, man.
My wife always says I make this stuff way too epic. it's finding epicness in little things. Star Trek is amazing for its moral ambiguities. Like what you hit on it is this thing of there is no standard, there is no objectivity. Like if you're a Cleon, you have a different perspective. If you're a human, you have a particular perspective. All of these guys are just floating about. The human perspective is the one of this kind of rational human being, but that's just one perspective floating in a sea of other perspectives, in a sea of other cultures that have a sea of different ways of doing things. I often say, I try to say if I'm stuck to the moon looking down, because I try to say if I am not affixed to anything. And I know even in saying that is somewhat nonsense, because even that, your point of view is still affixed to this thing of being a person. But no, man.
I think it's a brilliant concept. I love that you frame your thought sitting on the moon, looking down. I think that's a great idea.
It's the Zen approach. Like if you're going to do something, do it across the board.
Right.
Because look, I understand right wingers will make this argument based on domination. Like, however they try to code it. At the end of the day, their argument just boils down to we want it. We need to be safe. And the safety thing is usually just because we want X. We need to have control. We need to have power. If we don't have power, somebody else may have power over us, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Down the rabbit hole you go, taking everything. But that doesn't really get you anywhere. I mean, ultimately, if you're talking about peace, and you're talking about trying to have some level of stability in a world, injustice is not the way to get it. There is no situation where you're going to disenfranchise, take, steal, kill, murder, maim, beat, torture, and then those people are just going to be okay with it. You're going to have chaos. You invite chaos in the way that you go about your affairs. No justice, no peace. It's not, the dominance argument doesn't necessarily get you to any level of sustainability. Ultimately, it continues with this thing of perpetual conflict. If you want some level of peace, if you want some level of sustainable world, I think that's where you need to be. Fairness. I want to be fair. I want to be, earnest. Now, somebody can make this say, well, how do you know that other people are going to go along those same ways? That's true. I don't think you need to be fair to the point of your own, insolvency. Like getting rid of nuclear weapons under Jeremy Corbyn, I think that would be a bad idea. And I know a lot of lefties think I'm crazy for that, but I think getting rid of nuclear weapons was a bad idea. I play chess. I don't have this thing that these people are doves. I think these guys are hawks, and I don't necessarily want somebody holding something over me if I don't have the same thing. But that being said, fairness is the only way where you get a sustainable world. If I want the Star Trek-esque world, where humankind is kind of coming together in this kumbaya moment, dominance is not the way to get it. It just doesn't get you there. It leads to conflict over and over. The World War I thing, one of the things for the World War I segment that you end up with is these countries just distrusted one another, and in some cases decided to have a war because they figured a war was going to happen anyway, and this is the best chance to have this war, so fuck it, let's do it.
Lost you there.
It's just amazing. So I'm going to end this here. Dude, I appreciate your call.
Yeah, man. Take care. Hey, great to talk to you, Jamal. Have a good one.
Absolutely. You have a good one. All right. Joe Terezio, are you going to call in, my man? I keep seeing people saying they want you to call in. You're saying our government has killed millions of its own citizens. No, it hasn't. Hitler did. Stalin did. Pol Pot did. A dingo ate my baby. What about Native Americans? You said you used the Zen approach. I will bribe you with a huge donation if you interview. I would bribe you with a huge donation. That's funny. Harlan St. Clair. Zox doesn't have the full functioning keyboard, so he's limited. Well, I opened the channel. I gave it open for a time frame. I even let this go for 2 hours. So, never say that I didn't open the channel up to people who have criticism. Never say it. So, I will end this here if there are no additional callers. Joe isn't going to call in. His propaganda would get decimated. I gave him the chance. I don't know what the propaganda he's been pushing, but I gave him the chance. Estimates of capitalist American regime in the millions. Do not test the honor of Gardner. Do not test the honor of Gardner. Credible estimates of cash flow regime death toll ran from 35,000 to 141,000 with a median 73,000. Those from a 1987 report. I mean, what does that have to do with us? Joe Terrizio for DNC janitor. Oh, that's wrong. Oh, that's wrong. They're having to go into Joe. Jamal, I'm totally on board with what you're telling this guy. Yeah. I gave the chance. I opened the phone lines. I don't do the phone line thing every night because sometimes I'm just trying to get through shows. But I'll leave this here. I may have other videos. I may just do those and push those up. I didn't expect this one to go that long. I was hoping that detractors would have called in on that video. But nevertheless, it's fine. No single person or party in the UK could denuclearize the nation, at least in the short term. I don't think so either. In fact, if you notice, they've kind of dialed that back. I think Corbyn wants to do it, but I think the other people are like, yeah, dude, you need to calm down. I think that's a horrible idea. All right, I'm going to end this here. I'm going to leave this as is. I opened the phone lines for people to have their grievances and gripes. Left it open for 2 hours. There were people in the chat. Those people in the chat chose not to test on this. There will be other times where they can call in. So I left it open. I can't defend TYT video when it had totally misleading title and content. Fair enough. Fair enough. Perfectly fair enough. I appreciate that, Joe. I appreciate that. Because it's clickbait. This man won the election for Trump. Oh, did it? Who's the guy? A black guy. Black guy won the election for Trump. Explain this to me, how this black guy won the election for Trump. Then later on, we don't really know how many votes this guy got, if this guy got any votes. Yeah, so fair enough. All right, guys, I will end it here. You all have a good night. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. Of course, you can always support the patron. I know this video ran the gambit of ridiculousness, going from pillar to post. This was purely for my audience, so I understand if people don't necessarily watch this video. So you guys have a decent night. Thanks, guys.